everyone. My name is Chris. Today is April 20th, 2022, and I'm here with Michael.
Hello, everybody. I'm Michael.
Yeah, and we're here to talk about the game that we're currently designing. Currently, it's called Project Rail Shooter. Oh, I forgot a little bit about me. I'm a freelance concept designer. I worked in the theme park industry for about 12 years with companies such as Walt Disney Imagineering and Universal Studio Creative. And yeah, I'm just very fortunate to be able to be in a place in my life right now where I have the free time to work on this really collaborative game with my good friend Michael. And Michael, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Like Chris, I come from the theme park industry. Um, I'm a semi-retired creative producer. I also worked at Walt Disney Imagineering on Shanghai Disneyland, and most recently in Japan for Universal Creative on Super Nintendo World. Um, and yes, right now I'm like Chris in a really uh, privileged place to be able to have enough time off to actually explore some of these creative adventures I've been looking forward to for many years, one of which is making a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, neither Chris or I have ever done that before. So this show is all about us learning how to do that. So thanks for tuning in.
A little bit of my background again. I did work at a video game company, Petroglyph, and I was the concept artist, and all I did was, create art for the concepts like enemy vehicles, neutral vehicles, enemy structures, neutral structures, hero structures. So I created all the drawings of it, and I never really actually created the 3D models of anything. I didn't have to worry about texturing, lighting, rigging, and all that stuff. Uh, in the video game company, they have various departments for all those, many aspects of 3D design, the whole game design. And now I kind of have to learn how to do everything from concept art, which I'm familiar with, but I'm a little bit out of touch because I haven't done that game asset uh, vehicle spaceship design. It's a lot of fun, but I'm not proficient at it whatsoever. The only thing I'm really good at is environments, but that doesn't mean that I can't, learn and start from the ground up again. And oh yeah, so hopefully with my limited background in the video game industry, I can get us to where we're going. And this is definitely a good collaborative effort with Michael in that I can do the art and he can do the amazing Unity programming. So yeah. For those of you
Um,
guys watching, thank you so much for being back. And we had a little bit of
yeah,
technical issue,
welcome
but
back.
welcome back. Michael, sorry, you were saying?
Uh, what you were when you were talking about creating the like video game assets, the like actual art assets in the CS50 course that I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
the problem set that came up this week, there was a piece of it that kind of blew my mind. That was about like bitmaps. If we get a chance later in the show, and I remember,
Oh, okay.
I'll bring that up and show it to you because I think it's really interesting. But anyway, uh, yes,
Nice.
everything that you said to like piggyback on top of that. Same for me. Like when I was in college, I had a very brief window where I got an internship at a video game company as like on the video game design team. It was a real small company. They mostly did, I think, ports of other people's games, so there
Mm,
wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to do uh, too much. And I think that company ended up going out of business shortly after I left. Um, and I really wasn't there very long. This was like leading right up into summer,
mm-hmm.
and it just didn't make sense for me to stay there. But other than
Sure,
that,
sure.
prior to us doing this, I have like no professional video game experience. I'm just a an enthusiast
Yeah,
and have been for
yeah,
a long time.
yeah. And part of the reason why we're, doing this is, and also showing this to you guys is to kind of prove to ourselves and to anyone who's interested in pursuing whatever goals they want, is that if you can do it consistently, day by day, bit by bit, that sooner or later you will achieve the goal. And fingers crossed that we can do that. Because right now we're just making a N something N minimal
MVP.
MVP, minimal viable product. Is that correct?
Nailed it. Good job.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not going to be anything too big, but it's going to be something that is our creation. It's ours, and we will be proud of it once we make it. And maybe we'll continue on making more of this type of game, or we might make something else to whatever makes what's that? How's that phrase? How does that phrase go? Tickles our fancy or something like that. But anyways,
Sure.
whatever
Yeah.
drives us, right? And I actually had I was on it's the producer's stream last night, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I actually popped by your stream, and I saw you guys, showing some concept stuff. Can you guys show that? Can you guys show more of the things that you guys are working on, or is it like did you guys sign an NDA, or is it like a proprietary thing?" And I'm like, "Nope, it's just me and Michael. We are the bosses. Screw the
Yeah.
NDAs. This is
Yeah.
for everyone to see. So it's our baby, and we control the pacing of it, and we could do as much as we want and as little as we want, and that's something else that we will probably talk about later on after the show about that, of like the quantity of content that we want to show.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up because that is something I had a thought about recently and kind of came to a conclusion that I think makes a lot of sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so yeah, we can definitely talk more about
Cool,
that.
cool. But before that, do you want to go ahead and talk about, since we're in the recap section,
Sure.
uh, do some recap. Do you want to go first, and I'll go after you?
Sure. Yep,
Awesome.
no problem. So the long story short, about I guess it's a little more than 6 months ago. I think we're coming up on 6 months ago. Chris and I weren't working on anything together. We were just playing Overwatch together, and I think Chris, you were the one who mentioned like, "Hey, maybe we should do something. Maybe we should do a project together." And then I was like, maybe we should. And I came back with an idea for, hey, why don't we make a little game, like a little card game?
Yeah.
Um, and that got us started on meeting a couple times a week on making a game, and eventually, and it evolved quite a bit over those 6 months to get to where we are now, which is where we said, hey, let's make a video game. Neither of us had done that before, but I'm sure that we could learn. And really, it actually, I think it kind of came out of Chris was very encouraging of me to like learn 3D modeling
Mm.
uh, for the project that we were working on. And when I was really reluctant at first. It's like, God, I don't know if I really want to do 3D modeling. Like that's a lot to learn. It's really cool, but man, that's going to be hard to learn. And somehow I stumbled upon Unity as like, oh yeah, you could do sort of like the 3D assets and stuff in Unity. It's not quite like Blender where you can actually create models, but
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, like this Unity thing. Maybe I could get some pre-made assets and then I can kind of build things in there. And from there, I was like, oh wow, Unity is actually pretty easy, like and pretty intuitive. I'm not,
Right.
I hesitate to say easy.
Right.
Um, and uh, and oh wow, it's a game engine. That's interesting, huh? Well, if I can learn how to do this, maybe I can learn how to make a game.
Right.
Hey Chris, what do you think about us making a video game? Like, and Chris was like, sure, let's try it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And so here we are. I think we've been on the video game path for a month or two at this point.
Hmm.
And so Chris and I have kind of split up the work. Chris is doing the art assets, which is a quite a like a. There's so many different roles in the art asset development component, but that's the half that Chris is taking on, and then I'm taking on this sort of game design and game programming half of it. So I'm building the game in Unity, and then we're going to take the art assets that Chris is making, import them into Unity, combine those two things together, and hopefully make a great video game that everybody likes to play.
Right.
And with all that said, um, where I have been is going through a Unity tutorial, a couple different tutorials. Like there's plenty of free stuff on YouTube that's great and helpful, but you also kind of have to piece those components together and like grab a little thing over here and a thing from another guy over there, and hopefully try to cobble together enough information to learn what you need to learn.
Mhm.
Or there are paid tutorials. There are a bunch on Udemy and Coursera and things like that. I got one through Humble Bundle, um, and the one that I got is through GameDev.tv. We're not sponsored by them, but that's how I got a hold of them. And the course that I'm doing is like a Unity 3D course taught by, I don't know his last name, but his first name's Rick, and he's a really great instructor. It's I definitely recommend it. I'm only about halfway through it so far, but it's really good.
Nice.
And in that course, you make a bunch of different little projects. And the one that I'm working on right now is a sort of Star Fox type rail shooter game. And I thought, hey, why don't we just make one of those since I'm already learning the course? And where I left off last week, I've already got like an environment that works. I've got about 2 minutes of rail. I can fly the ship around, and I had just figured out how to get the ship to start firing lasers.
Yeah. Pew,
And
pew,
my
pew.
homework, going away from last week to this week, was to figure out uh, there was to continue the tutorial, but also to figure out how to assign a key binding to the laser so they're not just shooting constantly, but you can actually, press a button.
Right.
uh, and
Would that be
spoiler
the
alert, I
would
figured it out.
Oh, sweet. Did would that be the left, like for example, the left click?
Yeah, I've currently got it assigned to left mouse click, but
Nice.
you can assign it to a bunch of different things, like whatever you want. So um, yeah, that's my recap. That ended
Very
up
cool.
being like the whole project instead of just the last week, but there you go.
Yeah, what
Nice.
I've been doing is I just took everything that we talked about last week, and I just created more stuff based off of your feedback. And so the thing that I will be showing is kind of like the hero design of the ships. I kind of just created
Ooh,
like
cool.
silhouettes of it all, and then created uh, a orthographic view of one of the T-pose guys, the T-pose bot, right? And also a variation, because remember when you basically picked one and like number one and number six, and then you're like, oh, let's go find a way where we can combine the two kind of different aesthetics, right? And then so I did that, and
Cool.
so I will be showing that today. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. Me too. King says, I'm well, return to love. Yeah, no, thank you so much again for being here, dude. And awesome show again today. King with his group of D&D friends actually did a D&D show today, a stream
Oh,
as well.
cool.
So it was very cool. But yeah, you have the ball, Michael. I think you have the ball.
Oh, okay.
Maybe when we got disconnected. Oh, no, you still have ability to share screen. Yep,
Okay.
go ahead.
Give me a second while
Yeah.
I load Unity.
Take your time. And folks, I want to apologize in advance. We are currently having some streaming issues. We've been disconnected for like two times already, so all of a sudden we just drop, and it's weird. But hopefully it'll get better. Hopefully we won't get
Yeah, I
dropped again.
hope so too.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my Unity update, a large portion of what I've done since we last got together is kind of like what I like to call under the hood stuff, which is doesn't have a whole lot of visual interest, but there's still really important things in terms of like making the game actually function.
Right.
One of those was, and here I'm just going to open up Unity. One of those was like a 20-minute video in the tutorial that I had to watch twice because it was really hard to wrap my brain around, and it had to do with um, prefabs, which
Mhm. Mhm.
these basically anytime you make a game object in your world, you're going to get something that looks kind of like this, where you have this little cube, but it's kind of not colored. And then if you make it into a prefab, you're basically saying like, hey, I want to use that thing that I've created that game object that I've created in the world. I want to use it as a template because I'm going to make other ones. And I want the other ones that I make to be exactly like that one. And so when you make one of those, you get this little like blue symbol.
Mhm.
Well, it turns out that you can have as I've got here, so I've got this player rig object, which is a prefab because it's blue, right?
Right.
And it's nested because if I click this little arrow here, it's actually the parent of some of these other objects. And so it's got this camera object in here. It's got this player ship object in here. And you notice the player ship object is itself a prefab. And the player ship object itself also has other prefabs underneath it. So these lasers are like the grandchildren of the player rig component of the
Right.
player rig game object.
Yeah.
Um, really wacky stuff starts to happen when you have prefabs childed under other prefabs,
Mm-hmm.
and then if those children also have prefabs, because what can happen is, and this is what happened to me that was causing problems, is the uh, one of the lasers was a prefab and it was childed under the player ship, but it was a prefab of the player rig and not the player ship.
Sure.
So it it created all kinds of wacky stuff where the ship only had one laser, and then at any time I made changes to the other laser, it would get applied to the player rig. And it was a whole bunch of mess that I had to like figure out and kind of work through and resolve. And I finally got it all squared away and cleaned up. So now
Mm.
if I want to create like a new player ship, if I go into my prefabs down here, I've got lasers, I've got the player rig, I've got the player ship. I can drag this into the environment here. And then when I
Mhm.
click up here, it contains the lasers and everything that it's supposed to have. But I don't need another ship in there, so I will get rid of that. So anyway, there was a whole bunch of work done on that to kind of like get the game object hierarchy figured out so things wouldn't break,
Mhm.
because they did break the last time. Um, so there was that. There's also some things that I did with regard to the script for player control. The big one here was figuring out a way to provide player input to control the lasers in the game, which if I run the game here,
Yeah.
you'll see when we go on the Rails component. Can I scroll here? Yeah, I can. Um, in the script on the right here, oh, by the way, just in case anybody's watching this for the first time, so in this camera view here where we're seeing the gameplay, I've created this like rail system where the ship is flying automatically through this canyon. But when I move my WASD keys, I can actually control the pitch and the yaw
So
and
cool.
the roll to a certain degree of the ship. So I kind of like fly it around within this frame here. But I can't go outside of the frame. Uh, I could like a week or two ago, but I had to program in boundaries, so it like wouldn't let the ship fly further outside the frame. But you'll also
Yeah.
notice there that the plane is perfectly happy to collide with or to like fly through the ground and the trees and things. That's
Currently.
because I don't have any collision detection
Right.
built into the system yet.
Yeah.
That is coming, but for now, that's why you'll see that. So anyway, um, where we were last week, I had the ship able to fly around, and then I also could turn on lasers in the Unity menu. So then the
Right.
ship, when I would run the game, would just be firing lasers constantly nonstop.
Right.
My goal, or the like next component of the tutorials that I was working through, were to assign the lasers to a control input, so which I did. So
Uh-huh.
now when we're flying around, if I press my right mouse key,
Yes.
I can start shooting. If I just
Oh,
tap it a little,
cool.
I can shoot like
Nice.
individual, bullets or lasers, bolts. And then if I hold it down, it's just a nonstop barrage of laser gunfire.
Awesome,
Um,
Michael. That's great, dude.
yeah. So it's going to be really cool once we get some audio with that too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so now it's
Here
starting
comes
to
a new
become a game.
challenger. Corey is now
That's
following.
awesome. Thank you so much for the follow, Corby. Really, really appreciate it. And I see you, Horoff. Thank you so much. Hey, what up, man? Good to see you. But yeah, Michael,
Welcome.
this is great. Can I ask you, uh, uh, uh Okay, so currently you are moving the WASD keys, right? In order to pan up, down, and whatnot, and and you're pressing the right mouse button to shoot.
Yes. Hmm.
My question is, do you have a plan as to what's the functionality of, can we
The
aim
mouse.
using the
Hmm.
mouse later? Because right now you're moving, right? But
Hmm.
are we going to combine it with like having the playing look at the enemies by controlling the mouse?
Phenomenal question. That's a really good game design question. And currently, I want to explore that because I think it would be really cool to be able to move the ship with the WASD keys, and then wherever I aim my mouse cursor, have it shoot in that direction. That would be really cool. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's really, and I'm pretty I don't know if this tutorial will teach how to do that, but I know other tutorials do. And
Right.
so there is a way to figure out how to do that. So I'm not too concerned about figuring out like how to actually program that into Unity,
Uh-huh.
but I am not concerned is maybe too strong of a word. Um, I'm unsure of whether or not that's going to be fun.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because doing it this way, there's a certain amount of like, oh, I can, move the ship to get it to shoot where, like, if I want to shoot this ball here, I can
Yeah.
maybe do
Yeah.
something like that.
Right. Right. Right.
As opposed to like, I'm just gonna fly my ship up here in the corner and then move my mouse around and shoot all this stuff, and
Yeah.
just leave the ship there out of the way. But there
See.
could also be some fun back and forth between like, okay, I need to pay attention to moving the ship to dodge the terrain that I'm going to
Right.
collide with. And then I also need to move my mouse cursor to shoot the enemies who are all over the place. Um, so yeah, it's something I want to explore. I'm not sure which one is going to win out as more fun.
Right. Because I'm gonna try to explain it. My thoughts on it is that maybe in third person of view, like right now, you control and fire only by clicking and using your WASD keys. However, if we ever decide to go in a first person mode, maybe that's where it becomes more like a first person shooter, kind of like Overwatch. It's like you're actually aiming
Mm-hmm.
because right now your
Mm-hmm.
WASD key you are aiming with your WASD key in this position. But if we decide to go into the cockpit and move around, we could fly, accelerate, and pitch and yaw and roll using the A and what is it, A and D key. Um, I can't remember A and D. And then we can aim with our left of the mouse, with our mouse and left click or right click. Um, but yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a so let me repeat back to make sure that I'm understanding. When you're in third person flying with the ship, like
Uh-huh.
basically exactly as you see on screen right now, um, it can behave exactly as it behaves on screen, where the
Right.
ship just shoots forward, and you hold down the fire button, and then you choose where you want to shoot by moving the ship.
Right.
And then if we have other sections of the game, maybe there's certain levels where you're like moving around on foot in first
Hmm. Hmm.
person, and because maybe the first level you're uh, assaulting a base or something, and then you land your ship and get out and go inside the base, and you're walking around on foot. For that one, then you would actually move the mouse cursor to aim the targeting reticle to shoot things. Is that
Nice.
correct?
Right. 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 Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I think based on I don't know how to do that now, but I know how to figure out how to do that.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
So I
Sure.
think we can do both those things.
Yeah, and obviously I don't want us to go off the rails. Go off the rails. Of
Right.
doing 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 that whole first person shooter thing. I think what we have right now is awesome. It's great.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
wait to start like programming in some of the collision mechanics. Um, I think once I get the collision components put in there, and there's going to be quite a few of those, so that's going to take a little while.
Yeah.
But then once that's in there, then I can start putting in more enemies because then you can actually interact with them. When you shoot them, they'll actually blow up. And
Right.
once
Nice.
we can do that, then
Nice.
we can start creating little. vignettes where like, okay, there's a swarm of 10 that come in and they kind of like move with you.
Yeah.
So then you can shoot them. Or there's like when you're going through the canyon, maybe they're all just like dive bombing in over the
Mhm.
sides, kind of like this one. And so it's like
So
raining on
cool.
the sides or something.
Right.
Um, Whoops. So there are different ways that we can do that, but we can't really start exploring those encounters
Hmm.
until the programming has caught
Yeah.
up,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
which we're getting there.
Yeah. And yeah, again, awesome job with the being able to control the firing. Because last week it was just continuous firing, but now you're actually able to um, control it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. And technically, you don't really need to have the fire button on the mouse. You could just play this game entirely on the keyboard, right? Yeah, like you could have
totally.
the
Yep.
right control button as the fire button.
Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna press the left control button right now, and it
Oh,
actually
there you
shoots
go.
as well,
Oh, perfect.
because Unity is smart enough to seek an input for like the default fire button, and it knows that on a keyboard that's like the left control and it's the
Uh-huh.
left mouse button, and on a
Uh-huh.
gamepad it's this button. um yeah, it's that there's a whole other avenue of things that I've explored since we last talked about that with regard to like controls,
Hmm.
is because Unity has like an old input system and a new input system. The old one is kind of just like built in and is on by default. The new one, I think they're trying to migrate towards. It's only like a year or two old though.
I see. Uh-huh.
Um, but it's much more sophisticated. It's a lot harder to learn, but it's also way more powerful and versatile.
Right.
And the tutorial that I'm using, he kind of like hints at it. It's like, hey, just so you know, there's the new input system. We're not going to be using that one in this tutorial, but I'll give you a little taste of it. But we're going to be sticking with the old system. Um, but it seems like there's enough value in learning the new system
Hmm.
that I've started to go down that path a little bit. And it's complicated, so it's definitely a rabbit hole that's going to take me a while to learn. In
Right.
fact, I can show you a little bit of the new system right
Nice.
now. So like with the old system, if we look over here in the scripting here, you'll see this like right under here under process translation. This is a function that is basically tracking the movement of the ship. That translation part of it is just um, it's like a mathematical term for when something is in 3D space or 2D space and you move it, you're translating it from one place to another. That's why it's
Uh-huh.
called translation. And that's also
Sure.
why, like, if you click on a game object up here and you go to the transform, that's again part of that terminology. The
Hmm.
transform translation is all these like mathematical references. But anyway, um, this little piece right here, X throw and Y throw, where it's doing input dot get axis horizontal and get axis vertical, that's the old input system.
Mm.
It's basically inside Unity. If we go to, I think it's project settings, input manager. Yeah. In the input manager here, this is all just built into Unity. Like I didn't have to program any of this. Unity is keeping track of all these different axes, which are different ways to get input. And so under horizontal, if I click on this one, there's a whole bunch of information here, but basically it identifies the buttons that Unity is paying attention to for the horizontal.
Right.
So the negative button and the positive button, this is the left key and the right key. The alternative negative button and positive buttons are the A and the D key. Like
Right.
in WASDA, this is the A and the D, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it can also pay attention to x-axis on like joysticks and gamepads and things like that. So if I plug in
Uh-huh.
my Xbox controller and
Cool.
I move the left analog stick,
Uh-huh.
it's still going to register that as like, oh, the horizontal axis is moving. And
Right.
so in the code, this uh, basically this piece of code right here is just listening for that information. Like, oh,
Sure.
am I getting input from the keyboard or a gamepad or something that has to do with horizontal? And if I am, I need to put that information inside this variable called xthrow and give it back to the user. And then what
Right.
I do is once I get that from Unity, then I take that and start putting it into all this other code that then starts moving the ship around based on that information.
Nice.
So that's the old system, and that's kind of like how you would access it. There's like a thing in here, and then there's also some ways to access the code. And you can change these things. Like if I wanted to go in here and change this, to a different button, I could do that. I can,
Hmm.
change it to T or Q or whatever, but
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not going to do that right now.
Right.
And the new input system, I'm going to load up a new file that I've been using to kind of like play with it, and I'll show you a little bit of that.
Cool.
Um, so give me 1 second. If you want, we can read some chat while
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
getting the new
Oh,
thing. Oh,
Captain Blue
okay.
Blue is here. Hello. Ahoy,
Welcome,
Cap.
Captain Blue Blue.
And
Well,
Horoff
two
says,
things at
"Bro, I
once.
love piloting games." Yeah, that's uh favorite one of my favorite games as a kid was Star Fox. So being able to make kind of a Star Fox game is kind of
Yeah.
very, very cool, right? King says, "I have a question. Easter eggs and references. Will there be any in the game? I think the first one that comes to mind for 90s kids is do a barrel roll." Nice. Yeah,
Do a
that's
barrel roll.
yeah, that's from Star Fox, right? If I
Sure
remember correctly.
is.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah. Currently, we haven't you know, think about it a little at all. But we definitely should think about it. And Captain Blue says, I think there are helpful conventions on how the third person flight aim can work. You would probably want to have a crosshair indicating where you aim in the end. Yep, that's true. Yep, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Um,
Yeah, great notes,
yeah.
guys. Great notes.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this is a new Unity project that I created just to play around with, like, getting this plain old sphere to move around with the new inputs.
Uh-huh.
Um, and basically, the new input system, you have to tell Unity, hey, we're using the new input system. Then it goes, whoa, whoa, are you sure you want to do that? We need to like change some settings and reload the whole thing. And like,
Yeah.
yes, okay. So you click OK. Then it
Uh,
turns off the old settings and turns on the new settings. It's like it's a whole thing in a deal. You can't just uh, choose between the two. I think there's a certain amount of like you can kind of have it listening to both of them, but
mhm,
it really makes like a big hullabaloo about one or the other. And if you turn
mm,
the new one on, like, make sure you want to do that. But once you do, then there's like this new menu that you get here where you can start adding these things called action maps. And
mhm,
um, this is all brand new to me. So I'm going to be potentially, uh, saying things that I don't really know what I'm talking about here. Um, but basically, like an action map is so I've got one here for the player, but you could also, if you wanted to create one for like the ship or whatever, so I could type ship, and then I can save into here a whole bunch of controls that are just associated with the ship object. So when the player is moving around on foot, maybe I've got a bunch of actions here, and then when they're in the ship, that's here,
mm,
um, so on and so forth. But inside here, inside the action maps, you map out like, well, here's everything that you can do. So you've got jump movements, you've got a jump and you've got movement here. But if you want to add more, you can, I could add one that's like shoot or whatever. And then once you do that, it's asking for like, well, what kind of binding do you want to put on there? And then we go to the third column here, where you start specifying like, okay, um, I want it to be, bound to, well, if I click up here, I can specify whether it's a button. Volume and pass-throughs are too complicated to explain here, but for now we'll just say it's a button. Then when you go to binding, you're basically just saying like, okay, if I click this button here to listen and I want it to do the, you know, I don't know, the Q button.
mhm.
Um, oops, why isn't it? It might not be listening because I'm doing this in Zoom. So it's probably like feeding my keyboard to
Sure,
Zoom
sure.
instead of Unity. But
Got
anyway,
it.
I would
Yeah.
click listen here. And if you don't do that, um, oh, I know why it's struggling, because I've got it set to gamepad up here instead of
Mm.
keyboard.
Oh, there
So
you
it's
go.
listening for like the gamepad that's not even plugged in right now. So if I switch to keyboard, and you'll notice when I did that too,
Yeah, it changed.
it changed all of the so basically it knows that it's got a player and the player has these movements. And up here, it knows that you map those things differently depending on what the input is. So for the keyboard input, it knows that jump is the space on the keyboard. It knows that movement, I don't use WASD, I use ESDF. So in here, that's why it's ESDF.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I can basically go in here,
ESDL.
and then if I wanted to change these things, kind of like I was saying, I can click listen, I can type W, and then it's like, oh, did you mean W on the keyboard? And then I could
Uh-huh.
just click that, and now you can see that it changes
Nice.
here. And so now when I press up, without getting into all the code, because the code for this, for the new input system is substantially more complicated than the old input system. But the short and simple version is that now there's a way for me to access this from the keyboard and send it to the movement
Cool.
controls for the thing.
Nice.
And I'm going to switch that back to E. And then so once you've got all that set up, then I can click this play and I can move the ball with my
Nice.
keyboard. And you can see in the debugger down here,
Yeah.
it's tracking when I'm pressing the different keys. And so if I press the jump button, you get this little hop, boop. And it's pretty sophisticated. Like it can keep track of when the key gets, when you first start pressing the key, when the key is in the down position, and when the key is released. So you get those 3 different opportunities to track control input.
Right.
So, and there's a couple different things you can do with that, but it's very, very precise.
Nice.
Anyway, so that's another rabbit hole that I'm going down. Again, like I said, it's all kind of like under the hood engine type stuff that doesn't quite look as flashy as shooting lasers and flying around.
Right, right.
But
But this all this stuff is
essential.
necessary for it to make it work. Now that you actually
Exactly.
had some experience with the new controller, do you feel like this is the way to go, or do you think the older controls better?
We're, I think we can probably, at least for where we are right now with making the MVP, I think it's
Uh-huh.
totally fine to keep using the old control system.
Sure.
Um, for the final product, I think it probably makes sense to uh, figure out the new input system, and probably
Uh-huh.
for future products or future games and projects to use the new input system
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
because of the way it's built, it's more customizable and versatile, and especially as somebody who is an ESDF player and not a WASD player, it would be it's always very frustrating to me when I can't change the key functions in a
Sure.
game when I'm
Sure.
stuck with WASD.
Right.
Uh, and in order to make sure that the keys are remappable for players,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think we're probably going to have to use the new input
Got it.
system.
Got it.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so
Uh-huh.
again, for the MVP, that's not something we need to worry about. But thinking of the future, when and if the project um, needs a little bit more love in the customizable controls department, that's something for us to look into.
Right. Well, cool. Thanks for showing this, man. Captain
Sure.
Blue Blue says, just to prep you, this is in the future, but probably need a aim offset function for your character, just like an FPS game. This function
Mm,
forces the offsetted weapon to shoot projectiles to the crosshair in the middle. When the
yep.
crosshairs is closer than certain distance, then the weapon ignores the offset. This is the future, but I'm just prepping since it will probably need it for the aim system you're talking about. Because now you have a two weapon shooting straight forward, which is logical, but games usually make an il
I think you
illustic
meant illusion.
illusion. Thank you. Illusion where you aim to the middle of the nose of the characters because it makes aiming easier.
Yes, I think I know exactly what Captain Blue Blue is talking about. Really good points. There's a really fascinating YouTube video I can dig up and share with you, Chris, if you
Nice.
are at all interested. But it's basically the when you're playing Overwatch and you see like Diva's guns sticking out in front of your screen and you're
Mm-hmm.
shooting,
Mm-hmm.
what you're seeing is a completely different representation than what the other players who are looking at you are seeing, and where like the ray tracing of the like line of fire, they're really actually kind of cheating in a couple different ways, because there's this weird thing that happens with like camera placement inside of a character model where you can't ever really get a good view of like, you know, like if you're playing a Halo or like a Call of Duty game and you see the guy's like hands gun is like
Right.
hanging out in front of you, right?
Right.
If you were actually to put the camera inside the character's head, like right where their eyes were, you
Right.
actually wouldn't see the gun sticking out that way. It would be
Sure.
like much lower and it would be like off to the side more.
Right.
Um, but it doesn't look very good when you're playing.
When it's
So they
act.
cheat
Yeah.
it
Right.
by creating like a completely different rig that is just for you, the first person player.
Right.
And but that causes other problems because then it's like, well, if we fire projectiles from the tip of the gun in the first person perspective, that's actually at a different place
Mm-hmm.
than
Mm-hmm.
the tip of the gun in the 3D model of the actual character.
Sure.
So
Sure.
there's all these really interesting like sort of trade-offs on what they like, how to adjust for that, and that's the offset that Captain Blue Blue is talking about, because some games will it causes this interesting problem in some games where you can be standing really close to like a corner, like maybe you're like you've taken cover and you're kind of like peeking out a little bit, and your crosshair is clear of the wall.
Right.
But when you fire, the bullet still hits the wall, and you're like,
Right.
"What the hell?" Like
Right.
clearly I'm on my screen. The HUD, my crosshair says that I should be clear of this wall, but it's going to still hit it. That's because of the way they have it programmed. That particular offset is not aligned at that range,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, with the crosshair. So yeah, it's really fascinating stuff
Yeah.
that you would never think about when you're playing the game. You're just like, oh, this is
Nice.
great, this is so fun. And then when it comes to like actually trying to make that work, it's this big complicated ordeal. So
Right. 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 Captain Blue says, you got it. I see you already thought about it.
yes, but thank you for pointing that out, Captain Blue Blue, because yes,
Yeah.
that is definitely something that if we didn't know about it going into it, we'd been in
Right.
for a lot of frustration, I'm sure.
And how did you kind of how did you already know about this issue
Um, I'm just, I don't know, how
experience?
games are made nerd. Like
Ah.
I love that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Uh-huh.
watching videos where somebody analyzes the first person animation for all the Overwatch characters is just like,
Right.
ooh, that's the first thing I would click on the YouTube suggestion page. Um, so anytime I see something like that where somebody's like, oh, here's an interesting thing about like video game stuff, it's like catnip for me. I can't help
Nice.
myself. I have to
Nice.
go watch it and be like, oh, cool.
That's cool, man. But yeah, man, it looks great. I can't wait to. So, what is the next step? Is it what is it called? I think you already mentioned it.
Oh,
I can't think of it right now.
actually,
Um, the the boundaries. No, it's not boundaries.
uh,
The crap. I forgot about the thing.
collision detection, I
Collisions.
think.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Collision.
I'm gonna share another thing with you, which might be a little bit interesting for viewers as well. So uh, this is a spreadsheet that I made to kind of track my progress through this Unity tutorial, um, which I would recommend. I mean, not everybody's like really into spreadsheets, which is totally fine. I'm not even really, well, I say that I make a lot of
I
spreadsheets.
was like, oh no, you do a pretty good job of spreadsheets, man.
Yeah.
No shame
Uh,
in that.
it's I, for me at least, like one of the most important things that I've learned when tackling like big projects and or developing skills is finding some way to track progress, because
Hmm.
progress for human beings in so many different capacities, whether it's like you're learning a new skill or you're trying to get in shape or you're learning a new language or you're making a thing that takes a long time to make. It's so easy to feel like you're not making any progress and then throw your hands up and give up and say like, well, screw it. I'm putting in all this work and I'm, spending all this energy and I'm like going to the gym for 2 hours, 3 times a week, and I'm not seeing any progress. This isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's really easy to like throw in the towel and give up. But if you can find a way to actually like track the amount of work that you've done and the progress that you've made, it can make it a lot easier for you to go like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. I'm doing stuff here. Like I'm actually making this thing happen.
Right.
Because if you have that like before and after, you can track that progress. It it helps bypass that part of the human brain that is just like blind to progress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, public service announcement, find some way to track your progress, especially for bigger things, because it can kind of help you stay on track and stay motivated. And the other plus too is if you map things out kind of the way like that I like to do, is it can also show you like where you are in the terrain and how much farther you have to go.
Right.
So basically what I did in this one is I just copied from their website all of the all the tutorial video titles and the timestamps or like how long they were. I pasted them all into this file, and then I did some formulas to basically keep track of like, okay, when it's done, keep track of that. When it's not done, keep track of those, and then kind of add up the time for each one of the different projects because this one's got like yeah, like 6 different projects, or I guess 5 different projects. The first one, this project 0, is just the introduction, but then there are these other 5 where we're actually going to make a game. So 5 different games where they're going to teach you different things, and each one of them
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like a different genre. And the one that I'm on right now is this Argon Assault one. This is their name for the Star Fox game. And the entire duration of the course is about 7 hours and 9 minutes. And I've got about 3.5 hours left. So I'm, you know,
A little bit
yeah,
more than halfway.
yeah, a little bit more than halfway.
Yeah.
And then in the course total, the entire course is about 30 hours. And I've got about almost 18 hours left. And then what I have up here is kind of like this estimate is basically if I were to do, I think I set it at like about 20 minutes per day,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, which I think is pretty reasonable. I originally had this set at like doing an hour's worth of videos per day, but what I realized is that that's kind of unrealistic because um, I've done some experiments myself to see like, okay, I'm going to time myself. This video is 10 minutes. I'm going to set a timer and see how long it actually takes me to get through this video, complete the challenges, do the work, learn the material, and then be like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to move on to the next video. And in the little test that I've done, it's always been about 3 to 4 times as long as the video is.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a 20-minute video, it ends up taking me like an hour, hour and a half to
Sure. Yeah.
do it. And a
That
lot of
makes
it is
sense.
just because when you're learning something new, it doesn't just go in immediately and then you just do it. There's always confusion, and then you need to like, wait a minute, what did he say? And you got to rewind the video, or in the tutorial they have something set up that you don't have set up, or it breaks on your end, and then you got to do troubleshooting and on and on and on. But anyway, um, so I just thought it would be interesting to kind of like share this with folks, and it's a way to kind of keep your expectations about your own performance realistic,
Mm-hmm.
but also to give you a little pat on the back to show
Yep.
you, when I was looking through here the other day, I was like, man, look at all these done check marks. Like, look at all this content that I've gone through already.
Yeah.
And then when I go up to the top, it's like I've already completed 12 and a half hours of this course,
Yeah. That's
which is
really
like,
good.
hey man, go me.
Yeah.
Um, and then to answer your question though about like what's coming up next, if I scroll down here to where I've not completed anything yet, we're gonna do some headers and tooltips, I guess. And then here we go. Collisions and triggers. This is, I think, what's gonna let us start getting in like collisions and triggers, particle detecting particle collisions, because the
Oh,
lasers
cool.
that we're shooting are
Yeah.
particle
Yeah.
emissions.
Yeah.
So I think these 3 or 4 right here, and I guess this explosion, these are probably all going to be components that will start letting us shoot enemies and blow them up.
Nice.
So then it can actually start turning into a game. And then there's some other stuff here that's kind of getting into score and user interface type stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, so coming up next, I'm going to start getting into collision stuff,
Collisions.
and
Very cool.
hopefully it'll
Yeah.
start becoming playable.
Captain Booba says, good job on the course so far, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, That's awesome. And I totally respect the list that you have here is because I myself sometimes when I have like when my day starts, sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? And then I start listing out to do stuff like, oh, do thumbnail sketches, then take out the trash, then do dishes, then design this monster, then, then you're able to cross stuff out the list and every line crossed, it feels like an accomplishment. So yeah,
Heck
I
yeah.
totally understand as to why you made this list and to keep track of how many hours you spent on this, as well as seeing your, overall progress. So yeah, that's great, dude. And June 12th, huh? Nice.
Well, yeah, take that with a lot of grains of salt.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, if I were to complete 20 minutes per day of
Hmm.
video, then yes, we'd be done with the entire course by June 12th.
Nice.
We'll see.
Yeah. Good
I'll
job,
do my
man.
best. Thank
That's
you.
awesome. Yeah, good job. Thanks again for showing that to me. I know you say you didn't do a lot, but I mean, hell, if I try to
I,
do that, I just like, oh my God, how you do this? And yeah.
I think I'm just really good at padding out, the content. Like, oh yeah, it's just puffing it up, puffing
Uh,
myself up, and making it look like I did a lot more than I did.
No, no. Thank you so much for like you actually dove right in and talked about like how you made it and it's like what you said, peeking under the hood because without those codes, nothing's gonna work, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Michael. And now it is my turn.
Oh,
I will share screen. I will share screen number 3 apparently. All right, cool. And this looks okay.
and while you're doing that, looks like Captain Blue asked if we have you guys ever told what course you are taking? Would be interesting to know. Yes, I can actually share a link with you guys. I'm taking the GameDev.tv 3D Unity tutorial. Let me get a link for you. GameDev.tv 3D Unity. The complete C sharp Unity something or other. Again, not sponsored, but as somebody who's actually using the course and getting a lot out of it, I would definitely recommend
We don't mind getting a sponsorship. It would be great. So
it. Yeah.
if they ever watch us, hi, we're using your stuff. Just FYI. Okay. I'm gonna do a little bit something different today. I
Okay.
actually recorded some of my drawings, and I'm
Oh,
just
cool.
gonna play it fast, like speed paint style, and hopefully you can whatever you see, you'll be like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so this is this is it right here. Hopefully you guys will like it. Let me play, and then
How did you make this?
what do you mean? Like
Like recording software or
Oh, yeah, OBS has its own recording software, like just like the recording software that I'm using to record our show right now is the same program that I'm using to record my video drawing progress.
sweet?
Yeah. So this right here is basically trying to come up with different shapes on the backside. Remember how we talked about, oh, like most of the time when we're, designing or when we're playing the game, we're just looking at the ass of the plane, right? And so this is me trying to come up with cool shapes of our
Mm,
spaceship from the backside. And what I'm going to do is this is real time of me drawing. That's kind of weird. I This is like my first time watching this video too.
and
Um,
narrating yourself.
yeah, so this is me drawing and then me zooming in. Okay, anyways, I'm going to speed up 2, speed up 3, speed
This
up
is cool.
4. So let me see. Speed up 32%. Let me do 16. It just gets a little bit weird. So this is a technique I learned in school where we just come up with different shapes, different silhouettes, just by putting down markings on paper, and hopefully, we can actually have something good, a starting point. And
Mm-hmm.
just between me and you, maybe there's like one or two that I like, but yeah, I there definitely still needs a lot of exploration slash work because what you have right now, what you're using in the your tutorial game, it I really love the ship that you're using, and when I'm designing it, I kind of have that in the back of my head. Also, I'm thinking like I'm trying to make the ship as wide as possible so that, when we're tilting left and right, it actually feels more dynamic instead of something like very, very uh, thin, right? So it's a wider,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
more dynamic it is. So all the ships that I'm designing so far, they're very, very wide. And I did a few Google searches like, oh, what is the rear ship references for rear ships of fighter jets? And I couldn't. That's weird. I couldn't find a lot of rear photos of like F-15s or F-16s. And the ones I did, they looked very very simple. And that's not to say
Mm-hmm.
it's not good or anything, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just I kind of want it. I want something a little bit more sci-fi, and a lot of the sci-fi references I found, they're all like from the front view and three-quarter view, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't really have a back view. And so this is just me trying to find interesting shapes that can that we can use. It may or may not work, but it's just like a initial starting point for now.
Oh, this is super cool, man.
Yeah, no, thanks.
I love the exercise and then also the format. Seeing this sort of like time lapse of your exploration is
Hmm.
really interesting.
Yeah, and to be super honest, anyone can do this as long as they have like Photoshop. They could just, you know, do this. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Ah. So that's that.
Unidentified codec.
And
Cool.
I also did one for the top side. So this is
Mm.
me doing a top side version, and maybe I could go faster on this one. Ooh, there's artifacting going on. Ah, shit.
Yeah, I'm
I gotta
seeing
slow down.
artifacting too.
Yeah. So 16 is the best, the fastest I should do. Let me know.
Yeah, I think.
Keep in mind.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
As
neato.
you watch this,
Mm-hmm.
remember the shapes that make you go, "Oh, cool," so that when we actually look at it, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, this is the shape that made me happy." When
Mm-hmm.
I saw this in the video, obviously
Sure.
I saved this in the as a JPEG, so we could look at it as
Mm-hmm.
a still. But yeah, right now this is just like a fun little process video that you know everyone can enjoy. Um,
Yeah.
and this set right here took me an hour to just do to draw.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what is your like uh thought process when you're making these? Is there anything in particular you're trying to do when you're putting these shapes down? Are you like from each one, are you like, okay, that one's got like an angular A shape. The next one I'm gonna make more round just to see what that looks like, or I don't know what's going through your mind when you jump from like one to the next.
Um, man, I'm trying to think, but
Is it a hard
basically,
question?
it is in a way it is a hard question because is what what I'm thinking is don't make it look stupid, Chris. It's make it
Hey, that's
look
fair.
cool and make the shapes interesting, make it different, make it readable, and make sure it doesn't look dumb. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing is you have to make sure it looks cool and it reads, and so yeah, it's just and make it fast. Don't dawdle too much on one design,
Mm-hmm.
because that's one thing that a lot of people, including myself, have that issue. Is just you spend so much time trying to figure out one shape, and yeah, sometimes it's just really really annoying. Oh, Captain Boo Boo says real fighters probably look simple in the back or boring maintenance and shield against the elements reasons. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I actually showed Captain Boo Boo one of my the T pose guy, the one of the the enemy bots, because I didn't know if he
Mm-hmm.
was going to be up super late again. Thank you so much again, Captain Boo, for being here. Hey, Kakeen, how are you? Good to have you
Kakeen,
in here.
hello.
Hello, hello. We're just these are some sketches that I'm doing right now. But I went ahead and oh, thank you so much for the subscription, Kakin. Really appreciate for the support. You're awesome and amazing. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
am touched by your
Thanks,
support.
Kakin.
Cat
we
in the
are touched.
cargo just subscribed.
We are touched by your support. Thank you so much. And
Yeah,
so
that's amazing. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, thank you. And your subscription will help us fund our project. Whatever assets we need to buy, whatever tutorials we need to buy, that will definitely go towards this whole effort. But yeah, I showed Captain Blue Blue, and he also made a statement with one of the bots is like, things usually when we're looking at things from the front, they usually look kind of derpy and dumb. Like for example, think about an eagle. An eagle's head from the side view is like, oh, look at that sexy beak, sexy,
Mm-hmm.
silhouette. But when you're looking at a eagle from the front, its eyes like cross-eyed and looks really derpy and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, I'm kind of
Good
giving
point. Yeah,
myself a reason. I was like, okay, it might not look good now, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it might look good when it's 3D modeled, right? So yeah,
totally.
and usually things look much sexier when it's on top and when it's from the side view, not not really when it's from the
Mm.
front or the back. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
again, Kaking, welcome. Thank you so much for being here, and I know it's a little bit late for you in Brazil right now. But yeah, Kaking's from Brazil. All these international friends. This is so cool. And so I think we're almost getting to the end of the video, I think. Oh no, we still have like a few
Okay.
seconds left. But
Okay.
yeah,
No problem.
these are just all the different shapes that I'm trying to come up with, and you know, I think I like some of them now that I'm actually rewatching it. Because before when I'm drawing it, boy, I tell you, when I'm drawing stuff, there's like a demon in the back of my head going, "You suck, you suck, you
Yeah.
can't do this." It's just like, oh, shut up. I think we are almost done. So this is just me organizing
Man, you made a
the
lot. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's again, it's just trying to get stuff done so that we actually have something to talk about, right? All right, so this is more or less the end of this video, and the last video that I'm going to show is the development of the combination of these two guys that we talked about from last week. Remember how we say we kind of like 8
Mm-hmm.
and as well as 14? Well, then now I went ahead and did this little sketch right here. I started off with the same head, and I'm going to press plus, 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 plus. There you go. Just come up with different shapes variations for the um, it's like a combination of 8 and 14 as well. And this is just me trying to figure out the shapes of the robot. And yeah, this is more or less kind of like the design. And I don't know. Sometimes I forget that I'm recording, and then so I just go to the restroom and I just leave it recording. So that's why there's sometimes like a huge pause in the video, and I might have to
No
edit that
problem.
out a little bit later. So yeah, it's just me trying to come up with different shapes and really just using value to, you know, push and pull, make make shapes basically. And right now I'm just trying to figure out what looks good, trying to make it look a little bit different. And when I zoom out, I realize, oh, a lot of these kind of look the same. So I go back in and try to play with do a little addition and subtraction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Captain Blue says game is already getting international recognition. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, yay! It's not just domestic anymore, or at all. Yay!
Taking over the world.
The world. All right. The videos is almost done, so yeah, just give it a little bit of time. And
No
then
problem. This is
after
cool though.
yeah, cool. Thanks. I'm glad you like the this version. So after this, we'll take a look at the stills so that you can give me your thoughts as well as the chat. You guys can give me your
Sure.
thoughts. Hmm. Is it almost done? All right, it's almost done. All right. All right. So now it's just kind of repeating itself. All right. Let me go back in and do this. Okay. So, oh, I
So
actually
grab
forgot to
this.
do a recap actually. So the
Oh, okay.
recap was to do this. There's other bots as well. I'm not gonna recap on those because I didn't do any work on
Sure,
those. But this
no
one right
problem.
here, I went ahead and whoops, I took these guys and kind of did my own version, and I did a version, orthographic views of this guy right here. And I wanted to do an orthographic view of the combination of these guys, but I kind of, ran out of time. And let me see. And also we talked about doing this, but I mean, I guess I shouldn't show you this because I didn't do anything. I just pulled this up for no reason. Don't look at this. All right. Um, Okay, yeah. So with that said, since we just watched that video of these two guys, and basically it's a combination of these two, uh, inspired me to come up with these guys, and I went ahead and created the numbers as well, so that
Oh
we
yeah,
can
cool.
talk about it a little bit more. Move this over here and move this over here. All right. Your thoughts, man.
Uh,
And
this is like a or go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I one thing I realized is that between me and you, Michael, I think I need to send these sketches to you maybe like 2 days or a day earlier than I'm showing you right now because I feel bad like you asking you giving me feedback like all right now give me directions while you don't even have the time to digest it, right?
Mm,
So let's definitely talk a little bit about that offline, so that I don't put too much pressure on you and say, give me the answer now, because you're just seeing this for the first time. It's like, come on, Chris, I need
yeah.
more time to look at this. But with
Well,
that said, I
yeah.
definitely will keep in mind and send these guys a little bit earlier to you.
Um, we can definitely talk more about that, but my like quick knee-jerk reaction is that it's okay.
All right.
Like first impression counts for a lot. Um, and I feel like since we're doing iterations each week and then there isn't really like time pressure on me to be like you got to make a decision now.
Right, right.
It's more just like, hey, here's this thing, and if I'm like, oh, let me chew on this a little bit more, then
Hmm, hmm.
there's nobody lording over us that's going to say, no, you guys have to pick one and pencils down.
Right.
Yeah, and this is fine because I know we're both on kind of like time frames where we're moving pretty quick
Yeah.
between sessions. So
Right.
uh, wouldn't want you to feel like you need to move even faster to get it to me ahead of time. So what we're doing right now is
Okay.
fine so far.
Cool. 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 Thanks.
One thing that popped into my head that's kind of like somewhat unrelated, and it's a bridge we can cross later, but it just popped in my mind is because I was noticing in the original concept that from last week there was sort of like an orange glow on one of the guns and a blue glow on the other gun,
Mm.
and I was thinking like, we should maybe uh make a decision at some point, not now,
Mhm.
about whether or
Mhm.
not the player's lasers are
Mhm.
always one
Mhm.
color and the
Mhm.
enemy
Mhm.
lasers are always another color, or maybe the
Mhm.
enemies are like multicolored and different colors of
Yeah.
laser mean different things.
Right. That's a
Um,
that's a really good point. When I was giving this orange color here, originally I wanted it to be green, but the reason why I didn't use green because green is the color of the fuel, and I don't want players to
mhm,
get confused by the color of the fuel.
totally.
And the reason why I wanted to use green was because, Star Wars. Everyone who's grown up with Star Wars knows that, the TIE fighters when they shoot, it's the green laser, pew, right?
Hmm.
And so having a green laser will kind of in the mind kind of connect. It's like, oh, this is cool, and it's very relatable, right? But yeah, that's a great point, man. Yeah, as long as we can figure out what colors we can use, it'll be consistent throughout the game. Like the enemies are the green or a variation of greens, right? And the good guys are more
Mm,
warmer tones, maybe. Maybe it's like yellow,
hmm.
maybe. I'm not sure. We'll definitely have to do a little bit of exploration to see what we like the most.
Right. Yeah, and the
Mhm.
other thing to consider too is the color is relative to the environment. Because if the enemies are shooting
Sure.
like blue lasers and they're all flying in a blue sky, it
Yeah.
might be kind of hard to see the blue lasers on a blue sky.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, that's stuff that we can experiment with once we get into uh, gameplay tuning.
Mhm. Very true. Yeah.
Um, okay, so looking at these guys, my original thought from last week was that this bot would have a sort of like high-powered beam weapon on its undercarriage, as opposed to some of the other ones that might have like a machine gun or a missile or something like that. This would be like some kind of device that would it's almost the Death Star thing, right? Where it's like these conduits that are funneling energy into like a single point that can then shoot out as this like intense beam that needs some
Mm-hmm.
time to charge up.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that in mind, I think I like the direction of number 1
Mm-hmm.
and 5. Yeah, I like direction of number 1 and 5 for that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But number 6, this down here, this almost looks like this could be a machine gun to me, where you've got 2 barrels on either side here.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they can even like move independently, or this thing could like rotate and kind of like track the player. Like that might be kind of cool.
Right.
But yeah, I see these as just shooting more like just like regular projectiles out of here. Man, it's really hard to draw straight lines on this thing.
It's okay.
So number 3, I don't know, this component down here doesn't convey to me that it's like shooting anything or projecting anything. I can kind of see a little bit like maybe if there was something else here, almost like in episode 1, the pod racers have that like coupling link thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's something like that, and then it's got like this little charge up energy ball that would be coming out of here or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little something like that, where what's going on in between these 2 wings is like getting bigger and more exciting as it's building up, and then it's shooting out. Which, now that I'm saying all this, I'm starting to convince myself like, maybe actually I like number 3, because the other thing we have to consider, and that this is not easy, at least not for me. Ooh, man, that looks good, dude. Man, you did that fast. I'm really liking that. The other thing to consider is that because it's a game, we have to consider what this is going to look like animated and not
Right.
just
Yep. Mm-hmm.
static.
Yeah.
Which maybe kind of also goes to, what you and Captain Blue Blue were talking about with like, it looks things can look kind of wonky from the front, but when from the side and stuff. If the thing's moving in space, your brain's not going to get locked on to like, oh, I've only seen this thing from that one side. Your brain's actually like mapping the 3D shape in your mind.
Right. Right.
That looks cool, but I feel like with this particular shape of thing, we wouldn't be getting a beam that would be so straight. It would maybe be more jagged, kind of like a lightning bolt or something. Would
Oh, sure.
like it had more chaos kind of coming out of it. If we want a solid beam, it needs to be more barrel-like, more like tubular.
Yeah.
I think. But
Sorry. Yeah.
that's a neat idea. I like this idea with the coupling link thing. I think is pretty cool.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold
Sure.
on. Hold on.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm gonna read a little chat.
Oh,
Ooh,
shit.
cool. Captain
I
Blue
don't
Blue
know.
says, good fighters use red lasers, bad guys use green. But
Yeah.
Sith use red lasers and Jedi use green lasers. Theory, TIE fighters are good guys. That's a pretty good theory, actually.
Wait, really? Jedi uses green lasers. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, green lightsabers
The Sith
and blue
uses red
lightsabers.
lasers. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I never thought about that before, but the like
Yeah.
lightsabers are the reverse of the
Right.
starfighters.
Right. Oh wait, he's talking about the lightsabers, right?
Yeah.
The swords.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. So
Cool.
with the like spaceships, the
It's
good guys
reversed.
are red and the bad guys are green, and then with
Yeah.
lightsabers, it's the other way around.
Yeah. Interesting.
Um. Anywho, okay, so that's number 3. Number 2. mm, I like the trident um style, but I
Hmm.
kind of feel like the piece in the middle is reminding me a little bit much of like an alien, the like alien like opens its mouth and there's like a tinier little mouth that comes out of that mouth.
Right.
Um
Oh, sorry about that.
it's kind of reminding me of that, and I honestly I've never really been a big fan of that. As
Yeah.
cool as the xenomorph design is,
Right.
that was always something that I was like, I think it's okay to have triple like prongs there, but maybe they get arranged in a triangular shape, um, Death Star style, or
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe play with it. Oh yeah, if you have it like kind of coming down a little bit more, like that's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
It's the perspective thing. I don't want to draw right into it, but yeah, there's definitely. I mean,
Ooh, I
these
like
were
where that's
s-
going.
these were so close together, and I just wanted to come up with another shape. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Definitely though, it should have something else. I gotta play with it a little bit more.
Ooh. What is speaking of the like having things animate? What if for number 2 here
Hmm.
we I'm not saying we have to do this for number. I'm not saying like number 2 needs this fix. It's just an idea that popped in my head. It could be like a number 7. That's
Yeah.
just a totally different variant. But because you have these like 3 claw pieces here, what if they were arranged in a way where they were like kind of around a cylinder like this,
Uh-huh.
and in the game they would spin around when they would,
Ooh, yeah,
they would
that's
spin
kind
like
of cool.
this.
So let me go ahead and cut this. Let me go ahead and make this smaller. They would be on this. Wow, sorry. It's lagging like crazy.
No
Rah!
problem. Take your time.
Um,
Captain Blue Blue says TIE fighters never blew up 2 space stations containing civilians either. Well, the first time they blew up Death Star was justified, to be honest.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've always wondered about that though, because those things are so huge. All the stormtroopers on there aren't. I never assumed that all the stormtroopers were just like pure evil who were like, yeah, we're all about wiping out the galaxy. I always assumed that they were just like, hey man, eh, war is war sucks and it's tough,
yeah.
but I I had to make some tough choices in my life, and
I'm,
joining the
I'm,
military was,
yeah.
something I had to do.
I'm just doing this to put myself through college.
Yeah, and then the alliance comes and blows up
Yeah.
the entire station.
Sorry, this is super on the fly, and I'm having such a hard
No
time like
problem.
trying to control each the stroke of the pen. Ugh. But this, in a sense, would rotate while it's like shooting,
Yeah.
right? Nice. Flippity flip.
Ooh, one thing I just thought of though, because the tips of the gun are red, that just made me realize we should probably reserve the red color for those eye components and not for the
Yeah, yeah.
weapons.
Sure, sure.
I think it's fine for there to be some kind of glow there if you want to make it like orange or blue or green or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, but I feel like in the player's mind, when they see like the red dot, that should be like, oh, that's my target. That's where I'm
Right.
supposed to be shooting. That's the weak point that does damage.
Yeah.
to like keep that consistent feedback for them. Because
Right.
it'd be really frustrating if we like set up this tabulary where it's like, oh yeah, shoot the red thing to do damage, and then there's red things that aren't the things we intended you to shoot at.
Right. Well,
That's
currently
cool.
I'm not loving how the shape is, but I understand the concept of it. I just need a little bit more time to flesh this out a little bit.
Sure.
Um, but with that said though, like the red, the only reason why I picked red because I just picked it arbitrarily. We could actually have this in another color as well if we decide to do something different. That's your
Mm,
decision. So, actually we could talk about it. But yeah, it could be whatever color we want. Um, you know,
yeah, like a nice magenta or something.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that is something we should reserve judgment on until we can see it in context in the game and we can
yeah,
assess like, yeah, that red's looking really great, or actually the way we've built this, most of the environment is clashing with that color. It needs to be something else.
right. But yeah, I need to play with it a little bit more. It's not looking.
Sure, no problem.
It's looking. It doesn't. It feels chunky right now. Is the issue?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, it's like I gotta make it. I don't know. Like I need to pull stuff in out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yep. I think you're getting it.
something like that. It needs to look cool.
Yeah, you can almost imagine like going back to some of our insect roots in the designs. He's kind of like got a little, you know, scorpion tail or something coming
Yeah,
underneath, sticking
right,
out with this
right.
gun. Yeah, that looks good. That's yeah, it's starting to look a lot better.
A lot of design. You guys, it's just erasing, putting marks
Yeah.
down, and then erasing, and then flipping, and then erasing, and then finally finding the shape that works. Um, it's very not often when you just like put down a stroke and it's like, oh, done, perfect. That
Yep.
rarely happens with
Nailed
me.
it. Got it the first try.
Nailed it. Um, but okay, so do more
Oh,
explorations for this then.
uh, okay. So like, yeah, like in closing thoughts on these guys, number 4, I didn't quite say anything about the components down here. I like the shapes, but they don't read like guns to me.
Hmm
I
hmm
mean,
hmm
these almost like this piece here and here, these almost look like turbines to me. Like they should
hmm
maybe
hmm
be part of a ship where they're like, you know, thrusters are shooting out of here or something. So the shapes and stuff are cool, but it's not reading guns to me.
hmm hmm
Um, and then the other, what, 5 that we have here,
hmm
I feel like these 4 are a little bit more on track. Number 6 is cool, but I feel like it's a different type of gun. You know what? This would actually make a really cool gun for the mounted turret, like the thing that's
Mm.
stationary. If you
hmm
like
hmm
flip this upside down, um, and then yeah, have these like shooting out there, that might be kind of cool. But I think maybe for this guy, just in terms of what it's probably going to do in the game, because this is like the T-shaped heavy, I imagine this one's going to have with the heavy. We could probably do 2 things. You could have the charge up laser, right? That like slowly builds up and then shoots a high powered, high damage
hmm
shot,
hmm
and or fires missiles that are maybe slower moving but do more damage. So you have time to dodge them or shoot them out of the sky.
hmm
If we did that, I think the missiles would come out of something that would be more shaped like this and not shaped like the thing on the bottom. Or maybe there's just, in the interest of minimizing work in progress, minimizing scope, maybe we just do 1 heavy for now, and maybe it's just the laser one, and maybe we can experiment with having missiles come out of here and the high-powered laser come out of there for now. I kind of feel like game design wise, one bot, one function is
Yeah,
really better than having like one bot that's got a couple of different things, unless it's a boss. Bosses would be the exception where they're actually going to have different phases where,
right,
or they can, do multiple things. But for the standard enemy, it should really be like, oh, that's a missile heavy. Oh, that's a charge laser heavy. Oh, that's
right,
just a regular T fighter.
right.
Um, but to give some kind of like closure and consensus, I like where you're starting to go with number two. Um, number three is still cool if we can figure out how to get that sort of like wild laser thing to come out of there. That might be neat. Um, and then there's some things that are interesting about this where you almost have like on the inside here, this kind of is starting to look a little bit like the inside of a toaster or something, where you've got these
Yeah.
heating element components that are kind of cool. You can imagine them sort of like slowly glowing redder and redder or brighter white and then eventually shooting. So that's kind of neat. Um, that's actually really cool. Maybe there's I mean, I know I keep saying, all right, let's do a combination. But maybe there's a combination between those two where you can take some of the like heating element interiors of number one and put it into the tri fork of number two. But generally, I mean, you know, I think this is going in the right direction. I'm pretty happy with what's happening here. I guess I like if I had to pick one, I would say the direction you're going with number two
Uh-huh.
would probably be my favorite, followed very closely by one and three.
Got it. Okay, so what I can do for next time is do variations of number two then, so that we could figure out what this shape is on the bottom.
Okay, sure.
Because the top we got it, and right now we're still trying to figure out what the top we have, but the bottom we're still trying to figure out what it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And your comment about having these guys rotate is kind of cool. It could make a really cool uh, animation, right? When it's like coming right at you, it's like spinning and shit. It's like, oh shit, it's
Mm.
crazy. And then it could like do a little blast laser right at us. Wait,
Yeah.
did you just say? Wait, hold on. But did you said that one bot, one purpose, right?
Correct.
Well, I mean, we can say, I mean, these don't have to be, missiles at all. They're just wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But with the heavy, yeah, it's kind of cool if it. Hmm.
Because
Yeah, there is a
the
little bit of a clash there, huh?
yeah, I mean, it really depends on what we want. Because these guys, this one that we picked, uh, these are slower in my opinion, and for example, this guy is the guy that shoots lasers here, right? Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't consider those slower. In fact, I would think that these guys up here would be a little bit faster, but
But we're
not
not doing these guys. We're
much.
doing this one, right? If
Yeah,
I remember
I'm,
correctly.
yeah, I just mean like I would put all of these guys in this sort of like standard T fighter class. But yes, this is the one that we should move forward with.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But what I'm saying is like I would consider this guy to be standard T fighter, we'll call him.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so he's got like a medium movement speed, and gets in front of the player, flies backwards and kind of shoots them.
Uh-huh.
Whereas this would be a T fighter heavy, has the same movement pattern, but maybe he's a little bit slower. So he's going to get in front of the player, fly backwards, but he's going to move a little bit slower and it's going to have more armor. So it's going to take more shots.
Oh, so these are, I'm sorry, I got a little bit confused. So these are heavies.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
The thing that mm, I think still is clashing a little bit maybe is what you pointed out, where you've basically you have the heavy armaments here where they're almost like uh, both kind of like shoulder pad armor
Mhm.
and also missile pods.
Mhm.
But then we also have this thing down here, which is not a missile pod at all. This is like
It's more like a
A
laser beam
charge
shooting.
laser.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we save the charge laser thing for a different type of enemy, and maybe the
Sure.
ones that are heavies with missile pods, the thing down here should also be a missile pod.
Missile, right? Okay. So that actually makes sense. Bu- 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 bu-
And if we do that, what you have here or here, you could have this component down here be like the loading station for like a torpedo, you can
Oh,
imagine. You can
yeah,
like it
yeah.
comes in here, fires out, and then the next one, drops into place from the back or something.
Right.
Same thing with this one. In fact, this one you could almost have like, these pieces here that are kind of like rotating down this way, and then they
Oh, that's
fire off
cool.
while then the next one kind of loads in. So to keep things consistent with like the logic of the heavy missile unit, maybe we do that then. Maybe save this idea
Uh-huh.
and this idea for some other future charge bot.
Right.
But for the missile bot, yeah, maybe we work on just exploring one of these that can kind of be a little singular heavy duty missile launch tube.
Right, right. I'm looking at the past sketches that we did, because I remember doing kind of a missile heavy attack, but maybe it's this one. Hold on, let me open it up. Maybe there's something we could look at there that makes us go, ooh, let's do that instead. Sorry, it's taking a while. Oh, not these. Ah, go away. Bad.
Those things are still cool though.
Yeah. We'll do this. Let me go ahead and take a look at this. Do that. So something like
Yeah.
this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember we talked about like missiles here. Like
Totally.
this one is cool. I mean, something like that, right?
Yep. Bingo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that might even be worth exploring too. Is like because this, in fact, really both of these, but more so this one. This is almost just like a third shoulder pad thing,
Yeah, right.
which could be fine. I kind of think it's more interesting if that underside component is a little is different, and it's like the where you like the missile pods up here are kind of like the secondaries, and then the one on the bottom is like the primary. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Mm-hmm.
up top they're using smaller missiles, and the bottom one they're using a bigger heavy one. But in the
Mm-hmm.
game, we
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't would these ones wouldn't fire in order to keep the bot consistent with just like
Sure. Right.
a singular attack pattern.
Right.
Um, those would just be for visual symmetry.
Right. Okay. I'll take a look at these. Okay. So create a heavy missile attack bot basically for this one.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go ahead and we won't use. So we'll keep these for something else in the future. For
Hmm.
example, like shooting the lasers and whatnot. Pew,
Totally.
pew. All right.
Because yeah,
Cool.
I think that will still be a really neat mechanic to have a solid laser beam shooting across the screen, and then the bot's kind of like panning it towards the player, and the player has to like, ooh, you
Yeah.
know, do
Yeah,
like
because I
a dodge around it.
yeah, because I mean in Overwatch is as much as I hate Zarya's
Yeah,
laser is really
exactly.
cool.
It's
As
Zarya beam.
yeah, as well as Echo's beam too, right? It's so and
Mm,
Moira's like ult, that's always really
yeah.
cool. It's a great visual. Okay, so for next week or next time we meet, I'll go ahead and do variations of this guy, and hopefully I could come up with some cool design look and feel to make it feel slow, heavy, and powerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Bingo.
all right. And we could save these guys for a little bit later. Cool, 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 cool. Let me see if the chat has any. Whoa, wow, Captain Blue Blue. Okay, Captain Blue says 5 is sexy. I think he's talking about this one.
Mm-hmm.
Bloop. Blue likes that one. Good guys. Oh wait. Oh, we were at this. TIE fighters. They look. That starts. Sometimes you are just at the wrong place at the wrong time. You know. Oh, right. He's talking about the blowing up the Death Star thing. Uh, Pro tip: you can texture the eyes and lasers white, then have an overlay material that can choose the color in the game on the fly. Cool. And through testing in the game, you can draw on the slider to pick out colors that works. Oh, you made this comment before, Cap. I remember you said that. That's great. Yeah. And basically, it's we can pick the neutral colors for the eyes, and then in the game we'll be able to change it.
Sure.
Yeah. But for now, as a 2D concept, I'm just gonna keep it as red just to have something to look at. Because if I put it white right there, it's not gonna read that well.
Mm-hmm.
They could also be targeting arrays for all we know.
Hmm.
Mm,
That's an interesting concept. Kind of
yeah.
like a laser guidance system. And just, they're aiming at you to try to like keep you targeted.
Yeah. All right. So, for this guy, we will save these and maybe use these guys a little bit later in the future.
Sure.
And then I'll go ahead and concentrate on making variations of this, and hopefully we'll come to a decision as to one that we can choose and make in for the game, so that we
Mm-hmm.
don't keep developing week by week for this.
Definitely.
So yeah, so this one will come up with something. I'll come up with variation for this guy, and then we'll pick one, and then we'll go on from there.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Sweet. Let me close this guy. Let me go ahead and save and close. Let me go. Oh, I'll leave this one open. I'll close this one.
Okay.
And I'll close this one. And so for this one, I went ahead and created a orthographic view, like I said. And
Ooh,
this is
cool.
something that I'm glad you, I'm glad your response is that. I had a hard time designing this because it's kind of a T-shaped pose.
Mm-hmm.
What you're gonna get is a T-shaped pose from the front view. And
Sure.
from the front view, it looks kind of boring, but from the side, it looks okay. It's not too bad. The shape is kind of interesting, and the top is the top view, and the three-quarter view is what we liked, right? And then, so what I did was I created a version. Basically, I just took the what I drew, and then I kind of just skewed it. Uh, as you can tell, I just screwed the front view,
Mm-hmm.
and then just put it right here. I made a double version so to give it some thickness. And
Mm-hmm.
if you squint your eye really really hard, you could kind of see like what it would look like in the game. If you were looking at a three-quarter view, um, I mean it's like a better version of this hopefully. But the thing is, as until I model it, I won't be able to know how it really looks like when
Mm-hmm.
you turn it. Because again, the T pose is really boring. Top view is really boring. The side view is the only cool view in my opinion, and obviously the three-quarter view, it's the one that's working right now.
Well, I definitely want to see what you do in 3D. And I think even before getting into the nitpicky details about this one, I think if you want to start moving this one into 3D, I think that's fine. Um, I'm happy enough with the direction that we're going that whatever you would want to like, whether or not you want to explore more in 2D,
Hmm.
or if you want to, move into 3D and start trying to figure out the different profiles, that's fine with me. The one thing that I'll say, but I'm definitely open to seeing where you want to go with it. I actually really like the front view, and I like the front view more than the side view.
Oh wow.
This piece of it for
Uh-huh.
me
Uh-huh.
reads way too much like legs. Like I would imagine this thing walking around. Like this
Uh-huh.
almost looks
Uh-huh.
like a chicken walker.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
with this sort of hinge here, and then the
Right.
foot down here,
Right.
which for me, this thing really should read like it's only ever flying. Like it's not ever going to be on the ground, which is
Right.
something that reads kind of cool about the original piece here.
Uh-huh.
Is this is so like sharp and comes to like such a point, um, that this thing looks like it's made to just fly forever. Like it
Right.
just comes out of the factory flying and then it just flies until it blows up. Or like maybe, it's flying in space or it gets attached, like maybe some other thing grabs it here and it's attached to like some larger ship up top this way. But I kind of like, I know, I think I agree that there's something that could be interesting about the side profile. I'm
Mm-hmm.
almost wondering if maybe the body of the head, this part,
Mm-hmm.
can be made wider in some way. So then you can continue to have that T shape in profile as well. Because right now, when I'm looking at the front view here,
Mm-hmm.
the wing pieces kind of look like, you know, in top-down view, the thing would be shaped kind of like this, where they'd come to like a point. But when I look at this view, it looks like there's a big turbine engine thing here, which I think are these guys. I feel like maybe those should be smaller and sharper. I feel like the headpiece should be the biggest component of this thing. I don't know. What do you think? Is it you strongly
Um,
disagree?
well, no, I'm trying to see how you're seeing it, because this is the top view, right?
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, so that's the top view. Um, yeah, I would feel like this piece should be smaller. Like maybe that big.
Oh, okay. All right, hold on. Let me see. Oh,
Oh shit, sorry. I
yeah,
should
yeah,
have.
yeah. I was gonna actually just do
Yeah, there you
exactly that.
go.
All right. Actually, hold on. Sorry. Give me 1 second.
Captain Blue Blue says, perhaps if you make the quote feet in profile so thin that it looks like they could not support the legs would solve it.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe.
because I was actually doing a version if it's like a little bit thinner like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I made it a little bit thicker was so that it gives it a little bit of a plating, so that this would all kind of be
Mm-hmm.
like a shooting thingy right here. Um, and yeah, because in my mind, these aren't really legs. These are like panels, if you will, to guard um, the firing mechanism
Mm-hmm.
in this bottom here. But let me go ahead and make
Yeah,
this
I think
smaller.
like because this thing also reminds me an awful lot of in a good way. I'm not it's not a negative.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the B wing in Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
And so one of the things to consider with the that piece on the bottom, I feel like you could go one of two ways. You could either have like it's just like a column of guns like this, or this piece here is just an attachment that has like guns down here.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I feel like the guns themselves probably don't need armor or protection. Like what you kind of have going on here, you almost just have like this piece coming down, and then you've just got these raw guns at the bottom. I
Yeah.
think that's fine. Yeah, like that to me, that shape reads more interesting to me than having the little feet thing down on the bottom.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
Um, I need to play with it a little bit because I'm very sensitive to when things start looking very symmetrical. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
doing a front view is a not a curse or anything, but it's a challenge because, it always looks very straight up and down.
Mm.
And that's why I avoided doing like straight down like this. I wanted to give it
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a nice angle to it.
Okay,
Um,
sure.
how does that feel?
Well, I feel like if you want that sort of at like an angle or like a C shape like this,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we might want to adjust the top part to give it more curvature or something. Because right now, the way like I feel like this would be structured, like if I'm putting myself in the headset of the robot overlord that's
Mm-hmm.
making all
Mm-hmm.
these machines, they would
Mm-hmm.
probably have a very, you know, strict, symmetrical, straight 90-degree angle kind of approach. Especially if this thing was flying in space. Uh, the way it's going to be attacking the player is it's going to, kind of get head on with them. And so you would want all of the guns to be perpendicular to the player so that way they could shoot all at once. Um, but you could also achieve something similar if it was curve shaped and then you had all the different guns kind of shooting like this so that way they could eventually all aim at the same target. Um, because I like your instinct on it having some kind of curvature potentially.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, that's interesting too. Like maybe giving it a bit of a wedge shape.
Yeah, because I'm still trying to follow this right here, because this actually
Mm-hmm.
does go in my mind. Come on. This actually does go kind of like forward and then back and then down.
Mm,
It gives it that
okay,
little bit of interesting shape. What instead of just going straight down?
sure.
Ah,
Yeah, I like
lag.
that.
Instead of just going straight down, right? Um, but I guess I'll
Ooh, yeah, I guess so. Like, yeah, if you want to do that, but I would just make the like center of gravity or whatever for the guns at the bottom should be in line with the center of gravity of the thing at the top.
right.
So
Yeah,
then you can,
yeah.
you do all kinds of crazy stuff down here, and it would probably, well, actually, not too crazy, because then that's starting to look more like legs again. But this doesn't. This just looks like it's kind of like hanging down here. One other thing that maybe it's just the perspective of the three-quarter view down here is
Mm-hmm.
this component to me seems pretty small. This looks really big. Like based on what's going on down here, I would imagine this piece to be maybe at most that big.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
because I feel like, yeah, what's cool, what I like about this one is the proportions between the head and then the various types of wing pieces. I feel like the head's definitely the biggest piece.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I will adjust the wing right here, make it a little bit smaller. Bring it in a little bit.
Hmm,
Yeah, to right now the side view it feels super top heavy now.
I agree. Um, man, that's so,
Oh shit. Yeah, I don't think this should be too small because if that's too small then um the top is going to just feel way too heavy. I don't know. Let's see.
well, I kind of,
Ah,
I I kind of feel like this part of the ship should be much bigger relative to the other parts of the ship because then it's easier to shoot.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, because like if you compare a shape that's like, like this versus a shape that's like, I'm doing it like a real extreme here.
Yeah, sure.
Getting these to be like the appropriate size on screen for the player, this one's going to be so much harder to hit.
Harder, right.
Oh, Captain Blue Blue's got to go.
Oh, see you later, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a sleep
Yeah,
well,
thanks
dude.
for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the great feedback. Take your time, or have a good night's rest, man. See ya.
Take care.
He also said
Um,
perhaps if you make the feet and profile so thin that it looks like it can. Oh wait, I already read that. Yep, nice.
um, yeah, so I don't know. That's my thought. Like I'm okay with the body head component being a little bit fat compared to the rest of it. But certainly, if you feel like it's not proportional or it feels heavy, um, let's certainly play with it.
Mm. How does it feel to you like right now, like with this? What would you like to change based on this guy right here? Like
I mean,
make
really, I'm pretty happy with it, but yeah, the bottom piece, I would make that a little bit smaller.
from here or from here? From here maybe?
Yeah, probably from there.
All right. Cut something like that, or
Yeah, but maybe
or smaller.
wider,
Okay,
like that. Yeah, that shortness, but
something like that. Wider, wider, wider.
mm, no, I don't think not any wider. I think it's either. And this is hard.
Yeah, there's like a whole balancing thing going on. Hey, Marissa, nice to see you. We're Michael. This is my friend Michael. He's my
Hi, Marissa.
longtime coworker, and we worked on various projects together. And we're making a video game together. And we're kind of doing a work session as to how what one of the enemy bots are gonna look like. And so we're just playing with the proportions right now to get it the way we both like it. So let me go ahead and do that. And welcome. So good to have you here. Um,
Yeah, this is tough because like the 3/4 view, I'm really in love with. Like I really like
Yeah.
that one,
Yeah,
but
right?
it's shockingly difficult to extricate that into
Oh,
a front view and a profile. And
yeah, because the head is really ginormously big. Um, yeah, to do that. Marissa says, "Hi, Michael. Yo, very cool, guys. Yeah."
thank you.
Doo-doo. Yeah, maybe the head right here is way too big.
Mm, yeah, there you go.
I mean,
I think it should. Another thing that's kind of cool too is having more like the gap that you can see between the wing and the like this piece right here. That's kind of cool. It makes it feel maybe the wings go out a little farther, maybe. Well, now
oh,
now we're getting into the territory of the very thing that I was just drawing a diagram to. Like, let's be careful.
yeah. Let me play around with it a little bit more. 'Cause yeah, this is what we had before.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm curious if I should dive into 3D. The mature side of me is saying no, don't do it in 3D yet because you're going to be playing around with it and spinning and wasting time in 3D. It's probably much smarter to figure out in 2D first. Um, but I don't know. This is such a weird shape. You know what I mean? It's like it's like a big T-shaped ship.
Yeah, it's like a. Yeah, the adjustments that we've made actually, when you had the original there a
Yeah.
second ago, I actually liked your original better than the adjustments we've made.
Yeah, the
At
the
least to
thing
the
is,
head, like this piece right here, even though maybe it was like proportionally like too big, that looks so much cooler than the flat top here. I guess maybe
Yeah.
it's the little horns, but
Well, because the reason why I made it that big, I forget which one came first, the chicken or the egg, right? It was me trying to basically, make sure that, or actually, this is a little bit different now. This before, everything that I've designed, it should have the same height to it,
mm-hmm.
right? Everything should align correctly. It's just kind of like a drafting, it's like we're drafting, right? Do- So everything should align. Come on, man. Oh, shoot. I put it in the wrong layer. So everything should more or less align perfectly to
Mm-hmm.
everything, right? And so I kind of wanted to lock in everything and make it look as appropriate as possible. Um, and that's part of the reason why his head right here seems so much higher is because this is this right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's not. I don't think it's like a big problem or anything, but it makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
would have it like aligned between the side view and the
Yeah.
front view.
Okay. I'll keep working at it. Because it's definitely not there yet.
But it's good, and I think it's close. I mean, as the like primary attack ship,
Mhm. Mhm.
the like the enemy that you're probably going to encounter the most in the game. Um, yeah, I think we're like at least 80% there, if not
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, I really want to get the design down before I start modeling because boy,
Okay,
it definitely will take 5 times more, 5 times longer to finish it in the model than to actually
sure.
figure it out. Like it needs to feel right on 2D before that we should start doing it in 3D. It should feel right on 2D first.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Okay, yeah. Then let's keep
yeah. Let
playing
me
with 2D.
keep at it.
Hmm. One other thing that might help or might be worth exploring is again, like with the three-quarter view guy down here,
Hmm.
there are these really interesting gaps, like down here and then a little bit there. I wonder if like there was more separation up here between the wings and the body and more separation here, like where you've got this like big component here, maybe if that was more separated or smaller or something.
Right, right.
So then your overall profile, you would have these kind of cool
Negative
gaps
space.
between, oh, yep,
Oh, sorry. I got.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Uh,
Yeah, so you would have like maybe some more negative space in there. Sorry, my pen strokes are going to be
yeah.
awful
No
here,
worries.
but
No worries.
yep, you've got it.
So there's a little bit more breathing room.
Hmm. Yeah, so he's
And
not all like,
one super
clumped
chunky.
together with his shoulders all scrunched up. Now
Yeah.
he's like spreading out a little bit more.
Have some type of connection.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It helps, but the head is still too freaking huge. I'm just like looking at this piece right here.
Hmm.
Yeah, I need to
That's
redraw this.
because I don't feel like the head's too big.
Yeah.
And I'm also imagining these things are not going to be the same proportions as as the player ship, because the player ship, I'm assuming there's a human being or two
Mhm.
inside the cockpit.
Mhm. Mhm.
But for these things, they're just robots, and so they
Right.
could potentially be significantly smaller than the player's
Sure.
ship, or
Sure.
proportioned in ways that are like, it doesn't have to feel like this piece is like a cockpit here, and then you have to have like full size wings. I feel like because of the design of the thing, we can cheat that in
Yeah.
some other ways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the design still needs to
It's just
look
like a
good
flying gun. Yeah, for
regardless.
sure.
Yeah. But yeah, let me take another stab at this because yeah, we're not happy with this right now. Yeah, this whole orthographic front view, it's it sucks and it's boring, but it's one of those things like we kind of have to nail it down before we move on because if you don't have the design, then trying to design it in 3D, it'll just like I'll just go crazy.
Yeah, and kind of like what you had mentioned about the ship, like we're going to be looking at the back of the player's ship. Um, we're going to be seeing, that orthographic front view of this thing
More
more than
often.
any other
Exactly.
view of it. So we should
Exactly.
make sure we get that right.
Yep. Yep. But I do like the fact that you said about bringing, because when I brought these wings in a little bit more, they felt cooler, felt nicer. So to that point, actually, let me bring these in again before I do that. Sorry, this is taking such a long time.
No, that's okay, man.
Uh,
It's all good.
yeah. Oh shoot. Cut this and cut. Get rid of this guy right here. It's so weird that Photoshop CS6 doesn't have a symmetry tool.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, wait a minute. Weren't you using the symmetry tool when you were doing the player ship?
Oh,
Or is that some like
that
add-on or
was
something?
Clip Art Studio. That's
Oh, I
this
see.
program. Oh, you can't see it on the thing. Oh, can you see it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
I can see
it's
your
this one right here.
password. There you go.
Yeah, it's this.
Ah,
Yeah, so that's all. I had to switch over. By the way, since I just made that wing much smaller, it felt so much nicer in my opinion.
yeah. I think that looks great.
Yeah. Me.
I still feel like the bottom piece
Bottom.
there
Yep.
is
Yep.
too big
Yep. Yep.
relative to the
Yep.
head, but yeah, there you go. We're getting there now. Hmm, that looks cool.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm really liking that now. Yeah.
And feel free to draw on this too. Take uh take your take your thing and feel free to start doodling on this as well,
Sure.
because y- you're part of the. I mean, you don't draw, but that doesn't mean you can't design, right? I mean, feel free to give your hands-on input. Uh, because right now I don't want it to just go straight down like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
need it. I need something else to make it feel balanced,
Yep.
right?
I think the triangular shape, yeah, was actually really good.
His main weapon is still coming from here, right? Or do you think it's coming from these guys?
Mm, I don't. I think, yeah, my gut instinct is that all of those guns,
Mm-hmm.
so he'd have like, here, 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 and either one here or two on either side here, but they would all be uniform. They'd all be the exact same type of gun, and
Mm-hmm.
he would just shoot almost in this sort of like triangular, not the sort of like Death Star thing, but
Hmm.
just like an X-wing, like how X-wing's got the
Yeah,
quadrants. This guy's
right.
got the triplicate, and so he's just they're firing in such a way that not all simultaneously, but like trading off, so that way
Right.
when one is cooling off from the first shot, then one of the other ones is shooting.
Yeah, I gotta redesign this head right here. It's just screaming out to me. I just do not like it. Ugh,
Okay.
it's a big piece. Anyways, I think we spent way too much time on this guy. Let me play around with him a little bit more, and then
Sure.
we could revisit this dude next week, or not next week, Sunday.
Good work, though. I mean, it's
Yeah,
definitely going in the right direction. I'm feeling like, oh man, we almost have a primary enemy in for the game.
yeah. Oh, he's one of the enemies, right? I mean,
Hmm.
he's not the only enemy. Yeah. All right. Oh, gotta stop looking at this because if I keep looking at this, it's just like, I hate looking at you. And then nothing gets
Keep
done.
tweaking and making adjustments, and
Yeah, but that's just part of the design process. Okay.
we're
Anyways.
gonna look back one day in the future when we finally cracked the design and be like, oh man, remember when
Yep.
we didn't have that guy figured out?
Yep.
What a pain in the ass it was.
Yeah. Exactly, man. This guy was such a pain in the butt, man. Bah. But yeah, I love this making the wings a little bit shorter and the whole idea of keeping the target as the target so that it's not like way too
Mm-hmm.
you know um, spread out, right? You keep
Mm-hmm.
it within it's like you know something like that.
Yeah,
So that's the
exactly.
thing, right? This is all
Yep.
decorative right here, but this is what the players want. So that's a really good note.
Yeah, it's like the center mass is the largest proportion of the overall
Mhm.
mass.
Mhm. 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 Yep. Cool. Cool. All right, I'm going to keep working on this, and we'll have something to report back to you Sunday. And
Cool.
cool. Let me go ahead and turn that down. And last, sorry, we still have the hero thumbnails to look at, but
Yeah.
let me close this. Do not save. Oh, and and
Oh man. Even more than I
I,
remember.
uh, I don't want us to spend way too much time because I I mean, I would love for you to pick one, but I don't want you to pick one right now. Uh, I, I could totally upload this to you, and then you could just look at it
Hmm.
and study it and be
Sure.
like, well, this one feels good, and then get back to me on maybe on Sunday. You could tell me which one that you
Yeah.
like. Yeah, and then we could go from there.
I
Because
think that's a great idea.
there are a lot, and it gives me a chance to, do a little bit more too. And then
Sure.
I could send those to you before Sunday so that I could, you could soak it in a little bit better. Than, like say, Michael, pick one, let's move on, because that's not fair, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And the other thing that I'll say too is I think it could be really cool to give the player choice to have like multiple ships,
Mm,
but
mm,
for the MVP, for the thing that we're doing right now, we'll just
yeah,
pick one.
right.
And then later, if we get to a point where it's like, oh, actually, yeah, let's add a couple more ship models, because you, at a glance, without going through all of them right now, there are several that I'm like, ooh, that's cool. Ooh, I like that one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it would be neat to give the player, customization choice.
Yeah, yeah. I was also thinking like, and I was thinking it, but I didn't do it. Where you have the body of the ship, and then as you go out through the game, you could get different
Mm,
types of wings. It could,
sure.
and then later on, you could upgrade the wings to have it be something like that. To
Mm.
to
Oh
to ha-
yeah.
to have wings functional to its environment, basically. Uh,
Sure.
if you're in a super windy environment, maybe you want something a little bit more sleek and thin,
Mm-hmm.
versus if you're in an environment that has a lot of, I don't know, it needs like a bigger wingspan, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
instead it's like this. So that was a thought that I had. Just create one, just like the
That's a
robots,
cool thought.
create one body and then have different, attachment to the body.
Sure. And the
Yeah.
player can like mix and match and almost like in Diablo where you're like getting gear for your
Hmm.
character and like do you want more armor? That
Right.
armor looks this way. Do you want less
Right.
armor but do more damage? That looks
Right.
this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be really cool. Have like a singular body and then you're just changing out the attachments to fit the way you want to play the game and it also makes
Right.
the ship look different.
Right.
Yeah, that could be really cool.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it'd
Um.
be really neat too if there were like certain missions where you knew like, okay, this is a hot mission. You're going down into like this lava area. So
Mhm.
you're probably going to want to pick the ship components that are lava resistant or resistant to
Exactly.
heat.
Exactly. It's just like that the Zelda game that you showed me when we were in
Mm,
Japan, where in different environments, if you wear a coat, you'll be able to
you don't
survive.
freeze to death.
Exactly. You don't
Yeah,
freeze to death. Yeah. So something along those lines.
sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sweet.
Yeah, good work though, man.
Yeah,
Um,
no, thanks.
I feel like both of us went in. We're like, I don't think I got enough done between last time, but we think we both impressed each other with like, oh wow, you actually got a lot done since we
Yeah,
last
man.
talked.
Yeah. Michael, do you mind if I take a real quick break? I need to go to the restroom really quick.
Nope, not at all.
Sweet.
In fact, I'm gonna do that too,
Okay.
since I don't see any new stuff in chat. So
Yeah,
I'll be
great.
right back.
So let's go ahead and take a break really quick. All right, let me do. I gotta say, having like our stream getting cut, it totally ruins the flow of things for me. It's just like,
Yeah,
this destruction.
no,
Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, cool. So I'll make sure
yeah.
to send these
Hopefully we
to
can figure
you.
that out. Yes, please.
All right. Go ahead and close that, close this, and close this. All right. So now we
Oh,
are. Oh, go ahead.
before you send them though, can you number them?
Yes, yes, I can definitely.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm happy to do that too. I just want to make sure our numbers match. So
Yeah.
one of
Perfect.
us should do it.
Yeah, I could do it. It's not a issue
Okay,
at all for me to do that. All right.
sweet.
Now we're in the Q&A section of the video, and oh man, how are you doing, dude?
I'm good. I'm hungry. But I'm doing good. And man, the like Unity tutorial stuff, it's cool. It's also it can there are little like glimpses that I get into the complexity, and I realize that what I've been exposed to so far is still like not even remotely close to how much of the iceberg there is beneath the surface still.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, which in some ways is cool because it's like, wow, man, this thing gets really complex. Like that means if you can master that, whatever you can envision, you really can basically do. Um, but at the same time, it also means like, but you got to learn that and you've
Yeah.
got to master that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure because the full course there's like five different types of games that you're learning, and one of them is the rail shooter, and I'm assuming that if there are any other functions that we want in the game, we're probably gonna have to look for other tutorials that is about real shooters, like how to do XYZ, how to have like special glow effects, and when you shoot a laser, and with the sound and everything. I don't know if that tutorial has, sound included. I think there is, right? There should be. Like,
Probably. And
right, right.
there was sound included in a previous tutorial, so I
Yeah.
can pull
Take
learning
right.
from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's
Probably have to
the
review it though, because I don't
it
remember.
it's that fun little game that it's going
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. That was a fun little game that you did. So
Yeah, the little rocket ship one.
yeah, yeah. So
By the
let's.
way, I don't know if I told you, I
Oh,
I
go ahead.
shared that game with another friend, and he described the last level, the one where you start upside down,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
as absolutely enraging. So you're not the only one who that got to that one and was like, "Oh man, this is this is hard."
Yeah, but that's why it's so fun, is because it's so hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, man.
And I knew I wasn't gonna make any more levels, so I was like, I'm just gonna make this one exceptionally difficult.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's perfect. That's
Be a
perfect.
jerk.
Yeah. So, Michael, we before the show started, we talked about how we may want to rethink about how much content we present on Wednesdays. Uh, for example, this past, 3 streams that we did, we just had like we showed a lot of stuff, right? And then for me, at least, I felt like, oh, it's already Tuesday and tomorrow's the meeting, and I have to hurry up and draw stuff to show Michael. And I felt like very stressed in that, I just gotta create something really, really quick, and so that I can have something to share with Michael. And I don't think that's a really productive way of designing things. Sometimes it is because you're at an end of a deadline, right? And you have no choice. But here in our situation, we can control it a little bit. We can enjoy our lives a little bit more. I'm hoping, right? And so, however, on the flip side, it also kind of lights a fire under my ass to actually draw stuff, like to move the process along, and so that we can have growth in our game, in our journey. And having that fire is a good thing. And then so I think we talked about how it's good to have like a maybe like a 70-30 percentage of, you know uh, not having so much work presented in one session. We could have, 70% of just like really quick, like, oh, this is the kind of stuff that, we're doing on, it's like a up to date, it's like work in progress of a work in progress, and not like a final, like, oh, this is all done, kind of presentation. And so what I'm proposing, Michael, is that maybe on Wednesdays we can just kind of have a quick catch up meeting. It doesn't have to be like a full blown, like, oh, let's hear all the comps and show me what you did in Unity. It should just be like a simple catch up, and we shouldn't put too much pressure on ourselves to, have something to show each other. But if and when there are things to look at, then fine. If not, then that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think um I think it's still good to continue to do the twice a week,
Yeah.
Wednesday and Sunday, and the 70-30 split. I like the like 70% being you kind of control how much you do, like what you like. That's like we get to decide uh how much work we want to do between sessions, but the 30% is but there's always going to be a session on Wednesday and a session on Sunday. You can't
Right.
control that.
Right.
So you need to show something. It doesn't have to be, a big like, hey, you know, overcame a huge milestone for us.
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
check this out.
Yeah.
It can be like, hey, last week my homework was this, and I'm working on it. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but here's my game plan, or here's the thing that I'm working on, or here's some other thing. Or I'm still working on it. There really isn't anything interesting to show, so let's, I don't know, talk about some other interesting thing.
Right. Right.
I think that's totally fine. But yeah, because I agree. For me, that little bit of pressure, that like, I need to have something done, because like, hey, it's Tuesday afternoon and
Right.
tomorrow's the stream. I need to get on it. Um, as annoying as that pressure is and as deadlines are, I don't know. It's the kind of like good for you
Yeah.
annoying where it's
Right.
like, I don't want to go to the gym and exercise,
Yeah.
but hey, it's good for you. You got to do. And then every time I do it, I'm like, oh man, I feel amazing. I should do
Y-
this every time.
Right.
And
Right.
somehow that message gets translated into, I don't want to go to the gym. But yeah, so it's the same kind of thing here. It's like the pressure in between sessions is frustrating, but when we get there and I'm like, oh yeah, I did some stuff. Like, hey,
Yeah.
cool, this thing moved forward. Like that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want us to get to a point where the pressure is so intense we feel like we need to deliver so much that this becomes an unhappy experience.
Right. 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 And I think you put it very well. It should be very enjoyable, and it shouldn't just be us trying to get through the work and say that we did something, but it's actually we got through it. We had a good time making it, um, and we were happy. We were not like all stressed and stuff. Because yeah, the stress in itself is not good. The bad kind of stress, right? But that lighting under the fire under my ass, that's kind of the good stress. So that's that 30% of let's we need to show something, but at the same time let's have fun while doing it as well. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
we need to show something, but it doesn't have to, change the world
yeah,
each
yeah,
session. And the other
right.
thing that we should, keep in mind and keep viewers in mind of is we're learning how to do this.
Mhm, mhm.
And learning how to do something requires more time and more energy and more room for error and mistakes and trial and error. Um, it's not the same as like, oh yeah, I'm a professional. I've already made like 10 of these things
Yeah,
for the last, 15 years I've been doing this. Um, that mindset just requires like, okay, what's the new thing that I'm making? And I'm relying on my existing skill set. And as long as I've got enough energy in me for the day before I need to go to sleep, well, then I
mhm.
can apply it to this. Doing something like this for the first time where you're like learning things, it's quite a different animal. And I think
Yeah,
we need to respect that the pace is going to be slower. The expectation can't be just like, well, hey, man, you had plenty of hours between this time and last time, and those
yeah,
hours aren't changing week to week.
yeah.
Um, because the things that we're actually doing week to week, it's like some concepts are just harder than others to learn,
Right,
or
right,
there are certain, like what we were discovered today, certain designs that are harder to crack than others.
right, right.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. There's a fine balance, and I'm putting my producer's hat on now. There's a fine balance there to be had between the amount of work we spend uh, making something awesome
Mhm,
versus making sure we're actually getting work done and shipping things. But I think in this particular case, because it is so brand new to both of us,
mhm, mhm.
um,
Yeah,
that we can
yeah,
cut ourselves some slack.
yeah. And I'm definitely learning about this. It's kind of interesting too, because I didn't feel this way until we started streaming this, because usually it's just me and you just like bullshitting, or not bullshitting, but just me and you getting together. It's like, oh, this is what I have. Oh, that's great. But now that we're kind of streaming, I feel there is a sense of accountability, like, oh, I have to do this, but I gotta pull myself back and know that yes, there is a work-life balance, even though I'm doing this for us. There is still a sense of I gotta concentrate on my lifestyle as well. Like you gotta take walks, you gotta go to the grocery store, you gotta you know exercise, and you should watch TV and movies. Not just sit at the computer all freaking day, just trying to design something. And when that happens, that's when you kind of run on fumes, and that's not good. Is because you're very you're not balanced, right? Speaking about TV shows slash movies, I do have. I know you're hungry. I'm kind of hungry too, so I don't want to drag this out too long. But yeah, so that's good to know that we'll take it a little bit less pressure on ourselves to trying to present stuff, and just go at a productive pace where it's nice and balanced, and not feel stressed, right? And go ahead.
the one thing about that is sort of just like PSA for everybody is that I think operating at a pace that is sustainable is the most important thing, because staying consistent over a long period of time is going to is so much better for creativity, for learning, for seeing results, make improvements, working on a big project. Uh, a little bit of or like a little bit done consistently over a long period of time is superior to like frenzied like 12 14-hour days for like a week straight and then
Yeah.
absolute crash and like
Right.
I need a break, I need a vacation, I have to stop doing everything for 2 or 3 weeks, and then at that point I kind of like have forgotten where I even was, and maybe
Yeah.
I'm done with the project and like, oh yeah, I remember I got miserable towards the end because I got really burnt out. So, and it can be tough, especially for like people with personalities like mine. Like I'm prone to that sort of manic obsession of like, oh man, I'm not falling asleep at the keyboard yet, might as well keep going.
Yeah.
um that's dangerous because
That's totally
if you
me.
push yourself, yeah, it's hard. Like it's really hard like to take a break sometimes because you feel like you are being irresponsible. Like, hey, I'm not so exhausted that I'm fainting, then I should probably keep going. Uh, but if you do that, then you push yourself so far that your body doesn't really like have a governor on it in that regard. So it'll let you. It's like, oh, sure, go all the way to the max. And then if you do that, then it's like, well, okay, we're at the max. We're actually in this zone where we're doing damage to ourselves. But hey, we need to burn the midnight oil right now. So
Yeah.
keep going.
Right.
And then when you finally do stop, your body goes like, okay, great. Now we need to repair all the damage that we've done. And then you're like in a slump, and instead of stopping at like an appropriate point where then you can have just like, a normal amount of rest and then
Right.
do it again the next day, your
Yeah.
body's like, we need extra rest because we pushed
Hmm.
beyond our capacity last time. So
Right.
yeah, it's anyway, just
Yeah.
that resonated with me. And I was like, oh man, yes,
Yeah.
like sustainability is more important than really just knocking it out of the park every day.
Right. 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 And just keep it balanced. And yeah, because I going through school, I've had that a crunch time, right? You're just going 100 miles an hour and nonstop, and you don't sleep, and uh, not sleeping causes a lot of damage to your body, to your
Yeah.
psychological health. And there were in some finals where I didn't sleep. I drank like three large cans of Monsters in a 48 hour period, and
Oh my
it
God.
was, yeah, it was not good. My legs were shaking and it was freaking crazy. But yeah, anyways, so well said, Michael, well said. And one last thing I want to talk about really quick. Did you check out uh Batman on HBO Max yet?
Oh, is it available?
It's available now.
Oh no, I wanted to see it, but I didn't know it was out yet.
Yeah. And one
Did you
thing
see
that
it?
I no, I did not see it. I wanted to ask you, and maybe I should ask you off air, but this is all interesting questions to bring up, is that for your Twitch channel, whenever you do it, an idea you can do is reviewing movies and analyzing the movies based off of all the things in from your book. You know what I mean? Oh,
Totally.
it's this situation and the 3 point arc, and just essentially breaking it down on stream, and just, going through, and you could do it with old movies, new movies, and for example, like Batman, after I watch it, maybe we could have like a discussion as to how your book applies to that movie, what kind of
Sure.
archetype it goes through, and I think that would be really interesting. Either we do it on this channel, on our channel, or on your channel. I think that's just, fun to do. Right.
Totally.
Yeah, it'll be fun to just talk about the movie aspect, and we don't have to. That's the beauty of our channel. We don't have to always talk about design and projects. We could talk about
Hmm.
what the hell we want, really.
Sure.
And that could be one of the things, like just talking about movies and TV shows.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's
Yeah.
a great idea. And that's something that I've been thinking about for a long time. Since I first wrote the book, I was like, oh man, I can make really good video content where I can just pick a movie, particularly
Yeah.
like new releases, because people are excited about new releases.
Right. Right.
And then analyze it and see like, why does this work? Like, why is
Right.
this successful? Like, does this new movie follow this formula that I've laid out in this book? And sure enough, like
Yep.
there it is. There's all
Yep.
the beats.
Yep. By the way, hey, Redline Dragon, it's good to see you, man.
Red Line Dragon, welcome.
Yeah. Welcome back. Welcome back. Good to see you, dude. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Just an idea to put out there to you is it would be so much fun to talk about like movies with you and how you analyze it and what it means to you and what they did
Sure.
right, what they did wrong, what was good with the film, what was boring about the film. Um, yeah. So
Yeah,
whenever we
for
get a
sure.
chance, yeah, just think about it because I think it'll be a
Yep,
lot of
we'll
fun
put it
to
on the
watch.
list for
Yeah,
sure.
that's cool. All right, man. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up for tonight, and we will see you guys Sunday at 7 p.m. PST. I am Chris. You could find me on leaddesignstudio.org or go to my, well, it's not there yet, cutepinclub.com. Check out some of the pins I designed. And if you guys can, I'm trying to reach to 100 people, 100 subscribers so that I could have my own custom YouTube slash channel slash lead design studio instead of all the gobbledygook that you can see. So I'm just gonna go ahead and shamelessly plug this right here, and hopefully, if you guys can, please sign up, and so I can get to 100 subscribers. Thank you so much. And Michael, where can they find you, sir?
So I have a Twitch .tv/ML Welker channel. I've got it reserved, but I'm not
Mm.
actively streaming yet. I'm working up to that. I'm currently spending most of my time learning how to program
Yeah, yeah,
so we can make this game,
right.
among other things. But you can also, if you're interested, you can go to michaelwelker.com or mlwelker.com. Not a whole lot interesting there, but there's at least a landing page where if you're interested in my book, you can see that. Um, and yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, I'll be here every Wednesday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard with Chris working on this video game.
Yep, yep. Absolutely. And I am just pulling up your book, and I will always sh try to advertise your stuff right here. This
Thanks,
is
man.
this is your book. So yeah, if you guys are aspiring writers, definitely get the Blockbuster Blueprint, a step-by-step guide to writing bestseller stories by Michael Welker. Yeah. All right. Woo! Woo! All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope to see you next or on Sunday. All right. Bye guys. Take
See
care.
you later, folks.
See ya.